Alright, this is the final video of the yacht truck. So I call it the yacht truck, that's what he used to do. It's gonna be pilot cars, so the gear vendors makes total sense. But truck is as complete as I can physically get it until the new parts come in. So I've went through and I've figured out how to size all the AN stuff and the NPT stuff. I've downloaded a guide. I'm trying to slowly figure it out. I do see that it does say 6 on these, so everything we're getting is -6. The pump is 3/8. The little piece next to it, I believe that was 1/4 to 6, and that one's fine because we already had it. I've got like 5 45s on order. I have a 90 on order, and then up at the cooler. The only thing we haven't done really is mount the cooler. We just got to figure out a place for that. But the cooler itself has just barbs. So everything is going to be push lock except for the pump. And then the fuel filter is going to be push lock on the 2. And then it's just going to be a hose clamp down on the bottom. Other than that, everything, like this, everything's pretty much wired in. To avoid overheating, don't film more than 10 minutes of video. So until the stuff comes in for the fluid, I gotta place the order tonight. I wanted to make sure that I had the right sizes before I place it. But 3/8, 1/2 inch NPT, and then like I said, all this is 6 AN. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna have a 45 here, a 45 down, they're gonna connect. Then we're gonna have a 90 coming off of that. 2 45s off of that, one going forward, one coming backwards to the pump. And then I believe that one back there will route to here, down. This will go up to the cooler, and then the cooler will come back to that. So basically one's gonna go that way, one's gonna go that way. So just gotta quickly place that order, get all of the trans fluid. Actually, we already have all the trans fluid. The only thing we have is the trans fluid. This is the coolant that he chose. I got to order 1 or 2 more of those. All of that. We have a spare gallon of oil. And did I forget, I literally just started filming and I can't remember if I showed you guys this. But we got the bracket all installed. This bad boy is not going anywhere. And when you need to change it, you have plenty of room. So you guys can see how much room you have down there on the bottom. And we can get to that little end right there. So that's a barb fitting. We're pretty much done, other than obviously the suspension stuff, but I am not touching anything suspension wise on this truck until it's physically ready to be driven out. So I'm gonna take about the next 15 minutes to order parts, and let's just spend some money. Also, I did drop the drive shaft piece off today as well, so we're at the mercy of him whenever he decides to get it done. I know he said he wanted to pick it up this weekend. It's Wednesday morning now. I don't know if that's gonna work out because I still gotta drop it off for an alignment, and I probably won't be able to do that at least until Monday. So I wanna be able to drive this thing around, then do the suspension work. I wanna make sure it drives straight and everything. Before we start messing with that, I want to make sure everything's reliable, because if I did all this transmission and all this other work and then throw the suspension in and something's messed up, it's nice to be able to narrow everything down, make sure everything's good. So do one thing at a time. Obviously, big ass project. Yeah, so next part. All right, so I'm completely new to these things, but we're working on getting all the push lock stuff. I'm going to throw it back here because we're still waiting on the ones for the TDS cover, and he did go and get me new bolts, which they haven't arrived yet. They're supposed to be here today, but he does want to use this other fast cooler. So we're gonna take this other gasket and this fast cooler, and we're gonna be replacing those bolts. That's how we're gonna do it. So I'm gonna set this, actually I'm gonna set this back here, but we're gonna be using both. And what that means is I might actually just take the other fast cooler and put it on this side for a fill. And started messing around with that. We got one right there, We have that one there, and then we have that one there, and we also got the fittings in. So 1/4, 1/2 inch, and 3/8, I think they all were. And then we also got the fuel line run. We're still waiting on a gallon of coolant, which not worried about that right now. And we need to go get hose clamps. So I'm gonna start swapping this fast cooler back out. I know it sucks, but I would rather the fill be on the other side. And I think what we're gonna end up doing is just starting to throw the interior back together. I actually came in during the day because parts are slowly arriving. I've been busy during the day, but I did get some time today. Made sure to sleep all last night because it didn't come in. And yeah, so let's start getting stuff thrown together. And so since he's getting me new bolts that are actually long enough to go through the TDS cover and this, it only makes sense to put this on the driver's side. Now, granted, it'll probably sit just like that. And there you go. Set this with it as well. Now we got to do is run the lines for this and then run the return back to the TDS. So I think we are going to use this bracket. We're going to try to mount it either that way or that way. I do have a piece of flat stock. We're going to run it across and use these 2 bolt holes, and then we're going to do it in the front. Before I walk over there, this should be facing this way because this fan actually pulls. It says it was a pusher fan, I thought, but when I turned it on and put the positive and negative together, it's actually sucking this way, which is fine. Yeah, it should be a pull fan. And we're gonna mount it under here somewhere nicely. There is plenty of space under here to do it. Thinking about utilizing like right in here. That way it's connected to the bumper and it can just drop. That way it doesn't affect any of the factory coolers. I liked the idea, and I think he said something about it too, about using the factory cooler, but unfortunately, we have this nice big fan back there, and it does kind of hit the intercooler without these little bushings here. So I'm gonna make this piece real quick, get that mounted, get that all mocked, and then we'll work on the wiring later. All right, we're waiting on a few parts, and I haven't cut any zip ties yet, so keep that in mind. But we got this guy mounted down here. I did end up using the bracket that he got me for that, making a custom one. So you can see it is, it's supposed to be able to move back and forth. That way it doesn't destroy the thing. But we have the wiring. Like I said, ignore the zip ties so far. We are not done yet. And I also don't have hose clamps yet. He wanted stainless steel ones. So we got that guy routed, and then that guy up there routed. Everything nice and neat along the frame, all zip tied together, and then this and this will go here. We just got to swap this guy out. We're gonna put this a little bit further out with the cooler there. So, and then inlet, outlet. I'm not sure if, I have seen other guys do it where they just, instead of having the inlet here, they put it up here, and then this will be the out. Not sure yet how I want to do it. Basically outlet, inlet type deal. We'll see. I'll probably get his opinion on that before I do anything else, but until then, we'll use the factory in out. It just, I don't know, it's very low pressure. I think it's under 50 psi, so all this is fine. Once those parts come in later today, I think, yeah, we're just waiting on the fitting here and the bolts that he got custom ordered, so just waiting on those. Also, guys, keep in mind, I know I got a comment on this, but keep in mind, this is a completely custom project. This isn't something that I've personally ever done before. And unfortunately, as prepared as we thought we could be, I think I got through about 95% of this project without having to order stuff, which is great, but you can only be so prepared. It just, this stuff takes time, and you don't know what you're gonna need until the very end. So just get over it, deal with it. Anybody who tells me that they're gonna be prepared 100% is full of shit. So unless you've done it before, you tell me you're gonna be 100% prepared, you're a fucking liar. So once the parts come in, I'll see you guys at that part. Been a little bit, so we got a couple more parts in. We were able to get the coolant filled. Unfortunately, we did get the wrong adapter again for that inlet outlet. I'll show you that here in a minute. So these are not the right size. We were actually able to find finally that it is a -8. So we got those on order. They should be here tomorrow. So we're going to do -8 to a -6 with an O-ring Now, here's where we're at. We got that guy filled, and we also got the new, that nice black drive shaft right there. We got that installed. Transfer case is filled, and then we even got the new bolts. So that's where we're sitting. Once those come tomorrow, I'll be able to plumb this. I was hoping to get them in tonight. We're not gonna be able to do that, but I will have everything 99% done tonight. I wanna get this motor wired up and then the fan up front wired up and start putting in all these new pieces here. We're gonna start opening up a lot of this stuff here. Move that, move that. So we have a whole fuse panel right here for the low draw stuff. We have a bunch of relays, switches. Should be relays in here. Yeah, all those connectors, we have switches. There's supposed to be relays somewhere. There's that box. Dump everything out. Makes my life a little easier. And then here we go. This is the relays. So we will figure all that out as we go. And then the bolts and stuff. And then the instructions. So to make everything easier, so low draw stuff. This will be for the fan and the pump motor. Switches, I don't think we're gonna need any of this. Actually, I don't know yet if we're gonna need any of the switches, because I know he's got the switch panel over here, but some of that stuff is gonna be key on power. We do have this guy down here. Show you that. So everything kind of goes in there, and then switches galore. I gotta figure out what everything does. He said something about that switch. I can't remember. I think he said he was doing away with it, but like I said, we're gonna clean up a lot of the wiring no matter what it is. A little bit of loom, and then that loom that I use also makes it easy to tear apart in case you ever need to do any diagnostics on everything. So I'm kind of torn between, I kind of want to throw the interior back together and we'll just use that fill. But the problem is, if we use that fill plug, this guy here, these are kind of a pain to do that, and I would rather dump these in from the top. So I don't think I'm gonna put the interior together tonight, but I'm gonna do my damnedest to try. All right, so while we're waiting on that, should be here tomorrow. The actual 8, it's a -8, and then we're gonna go to -6. So we're gonna be pulling the whole front suspension off tonight. This side's good, but we are pulling the whole spring and everything. Drop this down a little bit more, and then we're gonna go ahead and install the leveling kit. I completely forgot with these leveling kits. I highly recommend that you guys get an extended track bar, because it is gonna push the axle one way or the other. I can't remember off the top of my head which way, but it is gonna push the axle one way or the other. So an adjustable track bar at the bare minimum, but they do make them specifically for your kits. And then we got the control arms to throw on as well. We got both of them. The bottom control arm is in the box, and the upper control arm is right here in front of me. So I think the best way to tackle this is just try to get that axle dropped as far as possible so that we can get the leveling kit installed. And in my personal opinion, we do have the lift kit off of Bertha over here, but if you're gonna do leveling kits, I really like springs over those little spacers on the top. This whole kit here, there's a 5-inch lift here, pretty much the whole thing for sale with control arms and whatnot. But I recommend those. The biggest fan of the spacers on the top. I've heard mixed reviews on them. I personally don't like them. I'd rather just get extended springs, but you guys know me, I like my stock look with the reverse level back there and stock springs up front. But these will do. They don't give you the ride quality of, like, you know, an actual spring, but the Fox shocks should definitely make up for that. So let's start tearing this front end down. I like to get the entire front suspension done tonight, and then all we're waiting on is that tran piece, and we can just throw the wiring in and drive it out of here. And we are going for an alignment on Monday. All right, sometimes this stuff works out, sometimes it doesn't. This is one of those cases where it does not work out. All right, so we got a little lucky on here. This one snapped. These are cheap as shit. Like, they're always breaking. They're just notorious problems. One reason I don't run one. But you can see that guy right there snapped the nub. And here's where we're at. All right, it was moving smoothly until it wasn't. You can see that. So the only other thing I can do really is I'm gonna put a set of vice grips on that. I'm gonna try to clean it up and save it, but this is kind of how we had it. So she's sitting right about here, up against. Everything was going good, like I said, until it wasn't. So I'm gonna try to stick some vice grips under there just to get it loose, because we're like on the last little bit. I don't know 100% if it's gonna work. If it doesn't, obviously we're gonna have to replace the drag link, which you guys can see the rusty crusty. Being an Indiana truck, unfortunately, and traveling and whatnot, just the rust is something you're gonna have to deal with, unfortunately. We've been lucky up to this point. This is the first casualty that we've had, and then this is the second casualty. So I'm gonna do what I can do to try to get this off. The reason we have to take this off and the drag link is to drop the suspension as low as possible to fit those springs up in there. It just makes it easier, and even with a spring compressor, it's a lot easier. We're also gonna be dropping both of these guys here, as you guys saw earlier, but all right, so we've discussed it. I pretty much just cut off, so the threads are okay. We're gonna clean those threads up before we put a new nut on it. That way we don't gotta spend any more money. Clean up a lot of this, clean up a lot of that. We should be all right. Pretty much once you drop that, yes, I know you could drop it up there as well, but the thing is, since it's already dropped down here, I started moving it. Shit didn't hit the fan until the very end there. So keep that in mind, how nice the threads are, and then they just aren't. So now you can see everything came out right there. Unfortunately, got to drop the exhaust to do the upper control arm, which is an absolute pain in the ass. I hate that bolt right there. The bottom one's actually pretty simple, but the top one, you got to drop the down pipe and pretty much get everything out of the way. Or you got to pick the motor up. I'm not sure which way I'm going to do it, because like when you undo the down pipe, it just makes everything complicated, and it's such a pain in the ass to redo it. But you can kind of see right there what happened. That's not weld. That's just a bunch of shit in there. Here, let me clean that out. There you go. Now you can see a little better. But yeah, so these two control arms were basically folded back on each other. That's why we're doing the top one. Unfortunately, he couldn't hit it on the other side, because the other side's a lot easier. This side, that upper control arm, requires a lot of effort. So good news, I was able to get the nut cut off and save all the threads. So there you go. We're starting to clean them up. We got all of the shocks over here with the steering stabilizer. I got all of these pressed in with the vise. Kind of a little time consuming, but it's all right. So all of that's taken care of. That means we got the desk all nice and cleaned up, minus the donuts and the sweatshirt. So now where we're at, dropping the exhaust is going to be a fun one. I'm not sure which way I decided to do it yet, but this is our update for now. Unfortunately, I did not get any of the new nuts with the leveling kit. So I actually might. I don't know. I have a leveling kit over here. I don't know if these are the same. I'll have to check, because if so, those are kind of a pain to get off. These might be the factory. I think those are the factory style bolts. So I'll have to get some nuts for that. Other than that, that's where we're at. So unfortunately, I did have to go and get 6 new nuts, which it was 93 cents. 6 new nuts for these guys, since they weren't the same. We got the springs in and everything. I actually had a nut in stock. Now this one's going to be a temporary, because we are going to the dealership tomorrow to get the alignment. But what I did was, after cleaning the threads and everything, I went back, forth, back, forth. You know, I'm gonna hit that a little bit tighter just so we can get it through alignment, but I'm gonna have the dealership tomorrow put the correct nut on it if they have one in stock. That's the goal. I don't wanna use this permanently because, well, I just don't. But that's the big thing. So just kind of back and forth constantly until she's tight. And I'm gonna hit her with an impact here in a second just to get it a little bit more umph on it, but it's a 22. So, like I said, we'll replace that later. We are working on the control arms as well. Still trying to decide on what I'm gonna do about that one. I am gonna pull the wheel liner out. But besides that, I'm gonna get the whole suspension back in first, all of that, and then we're gonna do the control arm. So I wanna get everything locked in 100%, get the shocks bolted in, which you guys saw them, they're over there. So let's do that real quick. I got it supported on a board. With the control arms out on one side, like that just kind of worked out because I do have a spring compressor, but I'm really glad that I really didn't have to use it. So I got the truck sitting at ride height, and here's where we're at. I tried to vacuum out as much of that as possible. We got this fixed. These are gonna need replaced eventually. These things are always breaking. We gotta do the upper control arm yet, which is I'm saving that for last because everything else is just a lot easier. So lower control arms in. Like I said, it's at ride height on the jack stand. Same with the other side. That wheel is not touching the ground, so all of the suspension is down. We got everything torqued down up here. We got the lower control arm torqued in. Now we just got to do the upper one, which there is going to be some up and down. Keep in mind, if you guys are going to do something like this and you take that track bar down, this bolt right here, right there, 180 foot-pounds. So we got this side torqued down. I did get the transmission lines in, and I don't like it. So this was his idea, and it's not a bad idea, but you guys see these right here? I was gonna go over the dash, or over the drive shaft, which I did up top. Was not able to use the inlet port, which I did see someone else online was just using the return as the upper one as the return, and then this one as the out. This one gets way too close to the drive shaft. You can see how close it is right here. Like we have about an inch. We're gonna have to watch that. I did leave this line a little bit long. I haven't cut the ties yet. I lost my my dikes for some reason, but I'm gonna leave this a little long in case we end up replacing this with like a 90, or like something needs to be done about this. I mean, it might be all right, but at the end of the day, with this fast cooler in here, it puts it dangerously close to that drive shaft. The upper one's fine. We can leave that one. That one's perfectly fine. What I'm worried about is if someone puts this thing up on a lift, I'm wondering, you know, if it'll come close to that or touch it. I don't know. I might try to test it myself. But besides that, it is time now to fill the transmission and get this guy wired up. We got the ground done, you can see right there. And then we also got the fan up there, which the fan, and that is not important. To get this thing running, we at least need this guy to have power. Everything is up here. I'm not sure 100%. By the way, this port down on the bottom, not this one, but the other one has a magnet in it, so that's why it's nice to be on the bottom. Now we have a ton of relays here. I'm not sure 100% where I want to put this guy yet. So we're still slowly figuring all that stuff out, and then we got a bunch of switches in and whatnot. I don't know, I don't think we're gonna use any of those. I'm pretty sure that the pump is key on power. We're gonna put a switch in it to override it, so that way if he ever wants to drain or fill it and whatnot, that works, but that's where we're at right now. Lower control arm, wiring, and fill the transmission, put the interior back together. So I can, I'm gonna fill the transmission now and get everything full, get the whole interior back together. We're probably gonna put about 10-ish quarts in it. So with the fast coolers, it takes about 9, and then with the whole other system, we do have 12 quarts here, 3 gallons. So with the fast coolers and the lines and the filter and this and that, we should be able to put about 10-ish quarts in it. So when that pump's running, the whole system's gonna fill all the way to the front, fill the cooler, fill the pump, fill the filter down there. So I'm thinking 9. I think 9 would realistically be where we're gonna leave it. I don't know if you heard him. Tractor man. I can't film any of that. I am not I don't condone any of that. Straight to jail. I don't condone any of that. Alright, so I had to cut the old little bushing out. Not the rubber piece, but the little collar. There is 2 extra collars, but they're not the right size, and they're for the shocks themselves. You can see this one doesn't come with one because it comes with the bolt, but because this has a different suspension setup, I need this for over here, otherwise there's a lot of slop. So I started cutting it out of the old one. Extra 10 minutes worth of time just to get it out. I need to get all of this rubber off and peel that away and then press it in. So we're gonna try to clean this up. Press it in, and then we have the front steering stabilizer done. Once the front suspension's done, I can slap this stuff back together. That shit's stuck on there so bad that I had to turn it into basically a marshmallow. So trying to get that rubber to burn right now so that I can put it, the collar back in where it's supposed to belong. Just kind of soaked it in some brake cleaner. But yeah, so I'm just gonna let this thing burn until it burns itself out. Let it up in the air so it can get a little bit more oxygen rather than just be sitting on the ground. But that should be nice and toasty inside and out, and then we should just be able to peel that shit right off. All right, we got some bad news. Filled the trans, and all 4 gaskets, every single one of them, decided they wanted to start leaking. Every single one of them. So, I'm not sure if that's a situation where we're going to have to RTV. Those paper gaskets are kind of bullshit anyway. So, I'm not 100% sure what we're going to have to do. See, the thing also, like, with plans changing like 3 times, I don't know if it's just the fact that, like, I crushed them more than once, but they never got wet, so I didn't think it was a big deal. But every one of them leak, and it's not even, like, the one that we didn't reuse, like the one that's fresh, is also leaking, and they're all torqued to where they need to be. So I'm not sure 100% what to do here other than like RTV and shit. I'm gonna have to wait for that to drain out and everything. I saved everything. These are about the same level. It just, that one's really, really high. I made sure to like fill that up. They don't, for some reason, they only put them like to up here. So ignore that. This is as much of 4 gallons as you're gonna get, but I'm gonna have to clean everything up and then start this whole process over again of filling the trans. I only missed a little bit. You can see from down the side, it's kind of hard to guide these big jugs on the inside, but yeah, everything needs to come back off. So that's gonna be fun. It's only 6 bolts, so it's not like it's hateful, but like this is really just holding me back from getting this whole, like, I wanna get the interior all back together. And that's pretty much what's holding me back from doing that. All right, so hear me out. I have 2 really thick gaskets in stock because I actually do have a set of these in stock for a manual transmission. These are mine. You can see that's what I have. And 2 of the thick gaskets in stock. Those Felpro ones are absolute junk. The one that I even didn't reuse, it was fresh, also leaks. So what I'm gonna do is, since I have 2 thick ones in stock and I have the metal gaskets as well, they should be back in here somewhere. I gotta find them right here and right here. So that gives us 4. Basically, I'm gonna have to tear the entire thing back apart, every one of these, and I'm probably going to do, how do I want to do this? I'll probably do the paper gaskets on this side, because this is going to be the side that is all, like there's nothing on this side worth worrying about. So the paper gaskets on this one, and then we'll RTV the metal gaskets on the driver's side, which will, I'm probably gonna have to let it sit overnight. But we do the metal gaskets on the driver's side because there's more stuff going on over there with all the lines and this and that. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna red RTV everything. I got red, I got black, it really doesn't matter as long as it's RTV'd. So pull everything off, give these a nice thin coat. You don't need anything crazy. We could also use the black. I've been very partial to my red because it like works really good, but have a little bit of this stuff left, but I've been consistent with this stuff. So probably just gonna go ahead and use my ultra red gasket maker. And yeah, I'm gonna pull that off and start. So I was a little suspicious of these gaskets in the beginning. Like, look how thin those are. I was a little suspicious of them, but that's what was bought and what was brand new. Definitely going to use this as a lesson if we ever go ahead and do one of these again. Don't use Fel-Pro. We are not going to use Fel-Pro. The metal gaskets, I'm not 100% sure of, but these are thick. Very thick. If you compare these, like, this is paper. This is paper, all right? Those cost me time. These, I have some faith in. I'm gonna, you know, do my damnedest. I'm probably just gonna RTV around this case itself because this surface is a lot less than this. So rather than wasting RTV, I'll probably just put like a nice slim little bead. Plop that right there. I'm gonna clean everything up. I'm only doing this one-handed right now, so it's gonna look like shit. Just give me a minute, bear with me. We're gonna do this side with these and then the other side with these. So because these are heavier duty and all that weight hanging from the other side and the pump and all this. So I feel like these will be better on the other side. Ideally, I wish that I had 4 of these or 4 of these, but I feel like 4 of these would do the best. So I am not sure what the last thing I filmed was, but we got the control arms both on. Everything front end wise, the truck is on the ground. We got all of the transmission stuff in. We're going through and fixing a lot of the wiring. A lot of these switches were melted, so he got me a bunch of new ones, and we are replacing any wiring that I think looks janky, like that. We're replacing it with that. So slowly going through, and yes, I know I can use a heat gun. We use a lighter around here because it just makes it easier. But slowly going through and rewiring everything. Show you guys everything on the other side. I think I put about 9-ish quarts in the trans. We're not gonna go super crazy with it. But we're working on this guy right here. So we're trying to figure out, I found 2 grounds. I'm gonna probably move this one to underneath of that because I don't like that. And gonna try to shorten up a lot of this wiring as well. Just wanna get a place for everything first and go from there. So this is a mystery wire. I'm not sure yet what it is. We're slowly pulling on the switches. He did give me a diagram of how he wants it. And so we have the CB radio, I think on the first, actually, no, I did that wrong. There we go. We have the CB radio on the top left, and we have the fog lights down on the bottom right. That's how those are. Got to figure out these mirror lights here as well, but slow and steady, this thing should be able to run and drive to the appointment today. We don't have any leaks yet, cross our fingers. So let's yeah, I'll show you guys. Like, this is what janky wiring can get you. Things will melt, improper fuse size, fun. So we're gonna start messing with like stuff like that. We're gonna start messing with and trying to clean a lot of this stuff up, give them something to look forward to. I'm pretty sure this, got to figure out where that ground is at too, but I'm going to try to make this as easy as possible to deal with. So don't worry, this can touch anything it wants to because we do have the battery disconnect. All right, just to get this thing driving, here's where we're at. So this is going to get mounted right here. That's where he said he wanted it. I got this mounted here. I had to do some clearancing to get that to work. The only thing I haven't done, I have not wired in the GV overdrive yet. I just ran out of wire. Pretty much, he wants everything on switches. So what I think we're going to do with the Gear Vendors overdrive is just the same thing I've done with all the other stuff, adding the new switches. We're going to run one over to the switch and one back to the positive and throw it there. We do not need, that just goes directly to battery, so we do not need a relay or anything. So 2 of these are relay. We do have working transmission pump and working fan in the front. So yep, this is we're working on it. I gotta clean the wiring up and whatnot. I'm gonna probably clean everything up now and then start fresh, give myself a nice clean slate because I'm tired of working in a disaster, and that's kind of what happens when you have a ton of tools and you clean everything up and then more stuff needs done. So I'm gonna clean this up real quick and I wanna see if this thing fires as well. All right, so we're gonna do our first startup on this thing. I gotta go home, take the Dakota to her. and then she's gonna bring me back out here. But we only have one battery. We gotta check for leaks. Hope there is no leaks. But so between tightening up the wiring the positive for the gear vender's overdrive, and putting the rear shocks in, and then all of this stuff needs to go in. Hopefully she starts pretty good. Thing hasn't been running a while. Oh, I'm seeing lights. Alright, I didn't think this was going to be a problem, but this filter here must have lodged itself when I screwed it on, because I screwed it on and off a couple of times, and then it's at the point where I physically cannot unscrew it. And it doesn't have a complete seal. It's this filter right here. So that means, I don't know what that means actually. That's not a good thing. So yeah, I'm using that. It'll tighten and loosen within like an inch of itself, but then it just gets caught up and hung up. And I felt it when I put it on for the last time. So this filter is pretty much junk. And I don't know if this is a cat problem or if this is the fuel filter device thing problem. Because it screwed on and off a couple of times fine, but then that last time you could feel it. Like it felt like it hit a locking mechanism. Like that's just what I'm comparing it to. So yeah, no matter, like, I'll show you. It won't move. But if I go to tighten it, like it physically will not tighten all the way either. Like it's stuck. So if I come up here, I'm just like, hey, let's make the filter tighter. See, it'll move, but that's about all I get out of it. So probably gonna have to end up cutting this filter off. Kind of bullshit. This whole project. Like, I'm so close to this thing being done. Well, I found the culprit. I don't know if you guys can see it. Let me zoom in a little bit. Well, I knew I felt something weird. It tore up the inside of that filter. I don't know what the deal is with that. I don't know if it's just a bad machining or what. It wasn't cross-threaded because it spun the whole way on just like this one. Spun on easy, got to the end, and then I felt a and then it kind of just, I guess that's the culprit. Let's see if I can clean that up, but I highly doubt it. So it is the filter as well. Check that out. I don't know if we got a defective filter or what, but that's what I mean. It got all the way on and then it just, and that was it. That's all she wrote. So this filter is bad. Save that, get a picture of that for him. Probably, if I can't get the other one on and I can't fix it, look, we might not be able to make this alignment today. Well, I only achieved half of my goal this video. You guys got to hear it run. She does run, but I just got with the customer. We'll see what he wants to do. This filter's still good. This has good threads. I don't know what the deal is, if it's just a malfunction or what, because I spun it on, spun it off like 3 times, on, off, no problem. And then finally when we went to put it in the truck, that's when I felt it. So I don't know. She ran good for the couple seconds that she ran, but it is what it is. We're definitely not going to make the alignment today. So what I'm going to do tonight, I'm going to come in and finish this thing up, just get it 100%, and then work on getting the appointment. So everything will be done pretty much tonight. I'm exhausted. I'm probably just, at this point, I'm just going to go to bed because I've been working since like 9 o'clock yesterday morning. So I'm tired. Ready to go to bed. It's almost 9 o'clock now in the morning, so about 24 hours. I see lights. I shouldn't see lights. Gonna have to fuck with that real quick.